Hi guys, Wheelie here. Today's all about magic circles, making them, working into them, securing them. Step 1, making the circle. So here's my yarn. I'm holding the tail or the cut end in my right hand and the working yarn, which is attached to the ball, is in my left hand. I drop the working yarn and I lay the tail across the palm of my hand and I slip it between my middle finger and my ring finger. Now I take the working end from here and I bring it behind my hand like this. I slip it between the middle finger and the ring finger as well. And then I take it across my palm and I've made a little cross. I bring the yarn behind my hand again, and this time I slip it between my ring finger and my pinky. And then I take it across the palm of my hand again. So I can hold it in place there with my thumb. Holding onto it with your thumb is the difference between an easy magic circle and throwing the yarn at the wall. I drop the working yarn now and I turn my hand over. You can see I have two lines of yarn. One here and one here. And the tail is poking out between my fingers. Slip the hook under the first piece of yarn, over the second piece of yarn, and pull it down. And now do a little twist like this. So I've twisted that yarn around my hook, and that is actually the magic circle. But now you need to secure it, and you need to secure it by chaining one on this piece of yarn. So I'll just slip the tail out of the way so you can see what I'm doing more easily. And I'm also going to show you what's happening on my palm, because here is where I'm giving myself a little bit of slack. I'm pulling up a bit with my hook, and I'm letting the yarn slide a bit with my thumb, so I've got some room to move. Now it's not too tight and I can easily slip my hook to the right under this yarn, and I can easily pull it through the twist on my hook to chain one, and that is the magic circle complete. Step 2, getting the circle off your hand. The magic circle is on my fingers. This is the point I used to get to and then stuff it all up. Don't take your magic circle off your hand with your fingers pointing away from you. If you do, you'll end up with your circle facing backward. Instead, turn your hand so your fingers are facing toward you and slip your fingers out of the circle. The circle is now facing the correct way. The tail of it is sitting to the left, ready for me to work stitches over. If you slip the circle off your fingers away from you, you'll be holding the circle with the tail on the right. All you need to do to rectify that is turn the circle over. Step 3, working into the circle. Your circle is a little on the large side. It can feel more stable to work into a smaller circle, so pull on the tail gently to tighten it up a bit. Next, you might like to tighten up this chain 1 to make it a little smaller. We secured the circle with a chain 1, but I find that my first round looks neater if I tighten this chain 1 up and then start my first round fresh, ignoring the little chain 1 and chaining whatever I need to start the next round. I'm going to chain 1 to get up to height and work a stitch to show you where you need to place your stitches. I'm going to half double crochet, so I yarn over and insert my hook. And on my hook I have the 2 loops from my half double crochet and I have 2 strands of yarn from the circle. That's important. One of those strands is the tail. Now I draw up a loop and I work my stitch as normal. Not only for the first stitch, but for every stitch you work into the circle, you need to work over the tail of the circle. That means when you insert your hook to pull up a loop, you need to have 2 pieces of yarn from the circle on your hook. Step 4, closing the circle. I've reached the end of my first round. You can see that the 2 ends of my work have come close together on their own. Often that won't happen, so at the end of the round, you'll pull on the tail and start to close the circle a little. You won't fully close the circle at this point. You just want to bring the 2 ends closer together to make it easy for you to finish the round, whether you're slip stitching or working the first stitch of the next round. And when you've finished your first round completely, that's when you tighten up the circle completely by pulling on the tail. How hard you need to pull on the tail will depend on the yarn you're using. You can see that I'm really using some force. You might find that when you work more rounds, the circle might slip open a little and you'll need to tighten it up again. That's perfectly normal. Step 5, securing the magic circle. I've snipped my yarn off at the end of the second round and I'm going to secure the circle. I'm assuming you know how to deal with a normal tail. I'll be concentrating on the tail in the center. Thread it onto your needle. I have a normal big-eyed yarn needle here. Have a look at the way the circle works. This piece of yarn is heading in this direction. To begin weaving it in, we're going to take it a little further in the direction it's going. Slip the needle into the little tunnel of stitches at the center, take it just a little way, and then pull it through and give it a fairly decent tug. You want the circle as tightly closed as possible. Now take your needle back a bit and do a back stitch. Once, and then back stitch a second time. And one last time. 3 back stitches is enough to secure a circle well, but I finished by taking my yarn up into the rest of my work. I like to leave the tail a little way away from the center of the circle. That's the end of Magic Circles 101. Now you know everything I know about magic circles. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.